Today on Bass UTV, I'm going to show you guys how I swim a jig. And man, I'm telling you, I have not told this to anybody. I have not shared this with anybody. It's just something I've learned. You know, everybody swims a jig, and it's just little things that I've tweaked, you know, over the years, throwing it all the time. You know, let me start off with, you know, this is what it started. This is the first jig I ever started swimming, I don't know, 10 years ago. And it's a 1/2 ounce dirty jig and Alabama brim. And, you know, and over the years, I just really expanded on this, throwing this thing. So I think what I'm gonna start with is, I guess, you know, let's start with the rod. Let's start with the rod I like throwing the swim jig with. So, you know, when I'm swimming the jig, you know, a lot of guys do it a lot different. When I'm swimming it with braid, I always want it on a rod it does have a soft tip, because I'll show you later in the show when, you know, when I'm swimming it, how I want this tip to help the jig act while I'm swimming it along. And so you need to have a soft tip, but you also need something with a lot of backbone. So, you know, this is one I throw it on all the time, and it's a Veracity 7.4 medium heavy, moderate fast. So it's still a soft rod, but it's still got plenty of backbone. And I got it on a high-speed Revo SX, and it's a 9-to-1, because I'm wanting to pick up a lot of line when I'm going down the bank, because, you know, you'll be swimming this thing along, and all of a sudden a fish will eat it close to the boat, or eat it on a far cast, and you'll have to just pick up the line, you know, as quick as you can. And that's the real use for it. And also I have it, you know, 90% of the time I'm swimming it on 40-pound X5 Berkley braid. So this is like their original hook that they've had all these years, and that's the one I'm going to throw on the fluorocarbon. So as you can see it's just a little bit, it's a thinner wire, and that's the one I'll throw on the fluorocarbon. And a lot of times I'll actually put either a swimmer on this, or I'll do the same thing as I do with braid with the chunk. But that's the one I'll throw with the fluorocarbon. And here, just so that you can get the difference. So this is the exact same jig, but this is the one I throw on braid. And I mean, they're pretty much identical. You know, it's just, that's the difference in the hooks right there. This one's a no jack 1/2 ounce, and this is just the original 1/2 ounce swim jig. So this would be the one for braid, this would be the one for your fluorocarbon. So guys, this is how I tie my jigs on. So and you know, I prefer 1/2 ounce over all the other weights. I mean, there's a bunch of different sizes you can get, and for different applications, but you know, 90% of the time I got this 1/2 ounce swim jig on. And what I'm gonna do the same knot I always tie. I'm just gonna go through the eye, back through the eye. I'm gonna tie it just like I'm tying my shoe, like that. And I'm gonna take that loop and pull the jig right through it. Pull it up like that, wet it, slide it down just like that. Make sure you want to make sure you pull this one pretty tight, because you don't want any of that braid to slide when you cut it too short. And then you don't want to cut it too short either. So you want to leave a little bit of a tag in here, just like that. And you know, when I'm fishing this jig, this is the only chunk I use these days. And this is only for you guys that are subscribing. I wouldn't tell anybody this, and you know, don't tell your friends unless they're subscribing. But this is the only chunk I swim. This is the only one I've swum in the last 3 years. I swim it, flip it, everything. This is the best chunk I've ever used, ever. So, and what I do is, oh, and it's this is the maxscent meaty chunk. And this is just, this is watermelon red, and this is Alabama brim. And all I'm doing is, I'm gonna take the chunk, and you see how it's got the fatter part on the bottom? I'm gonna go right through the center of that with this hook. And I'm gonna try to come right out in between those dimples on that part, just like that, right there. That is it right there. That is just amazing. I feel like I need to go throw this now, actually. We need to just go. Let's go, Pete, let's go. All right, guys, here we are now. I'm gonna show you how to throw this thing. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you how to swim this jig around hard cover. So around, you know, laydowns, rocks, docks, you know, everything right here, it's hard structure. And that's the stuff I'm gonna be showing you how I swim around. So let's start here with this laydown. So, you know, we got a laydown, it's coming out towards us. So what I'm gonna do with this jig, I'm gonna try to, you're always gonna wanna throw parallel to whatever the laydown is, because you're wanting to leave that jig in the strike zone as long as possible. So what I'm gonna do is you're always gonna wanna throw parallel to these laydowns, because you wanna keep your jig in the strike zone. So what I normally do, especially now, this is like, you know, we got cloud cover, fish are biting, fish are eating. I'm just running a ton of hard cover trying to get bites. I'm gonna take that jig and throw it right up parallel, and I'm gonna pop it right along the surface. I'm gonna keep it in my sight, and I'm gonna just work it back. And now we're, you know, and what we're doing, we're just trying to find aggressive fish. And if there's an aggressive fish in there, he'll come out and eat it with it on the surface like that. If I throw it once or twice and I don't get bit, I just take the exact same jig and I'll flip it right into the same exact spots, and I'll let it go down to the bottom. And I'll just work it out nice and easy, you know, working through just like you're flipping a jig. And then I'll swim it back. Okay, so when I'm throwing this jig, it's not like your normal swim jig where you're casting it out and you're reeling it like a chatterbait or a spinnerbait and bumping structure. What you do with this jig is you're actually giving its action. You're, you know, taking your rod, you're popping the rod and reeling at the same time. So you're gonna throw it out and you're gonna be popping your rod and reeling nice and easy, reeling up the slack that you're popping to make the legs kind of flail some. And that's gonna trigger bites. A lot of times you don't even have to bump the cover when you're making the action of the jig. You don't even have to, you know, a lot of times you have to bump something to get a bite. When you're doing the rod twitches and popping it through there and you're giving that bait the action, it'll produce a strike without even bumping anything.